All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesdays. We're very glad you're with us. It's December 8th, 2020. For those people on Zoom, if you have questions, please just send your questions into the chat box and we will get all those questions answered. And for those people, we've got 6 people currently on Facebook. For those people on Facebook, if you have any questions, just enter your questions into the comment field and I am monitoring the feed and I'll make sure we get those questions answered for you. For those on Zoom, we like to ask you to use the speaker view, which is what's in the lower left-hand corner. Where that red arrow is, you can drag that back and forth if you're using a PC or Mac, and you can adjust the size of the PowerPoint or the size of the speaker when they're in presentation mode. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career FW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you happen to post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comment, name, and picture to appear. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. I founded Career DFW back in 2008 to help the unemployed in the DFW area. In 2012, I started CareerUSA.org to help people outside the DFW area. I've written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. You can get it on Amazon for 15 bucks, or if you want to drive by the house, you can throw 10 bucks out the window and I'll try to throw a book in your open window on the way by. I also lead and facilitate the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. I've been doing that since 2007, and I'll tell you about our upcoming program this Friday at the end of the session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, conducting interviews for prospective employees in the DFW area. Well, we have 4 different speakers who rotate through and talk about LinkedIn. The reason we have 4 different speakers is because everybody talks about LinkedIn from a little bit different aspect, a little bit different ratio. Hopefully you'll learn something different from every speaker you hear from. And I know that several of the speakers go and they change their stuff up every week, every month. So what they're presenting is always different. So this week, our speaker is Kurt VandeMotter. He's an executive recruiter at Linked Executive Search. So Kurt, thank you very much, and I'll turn it over to you.
Excellent. I'm going to ask you to give me the screen, and I'll share my screen. I'm going to go right to LinkedIn Recruiter. I appreciate everybody's participation today. Let's see, disabled participation.
Yep, you should have it now.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to open up, I think, share, it's right here. Okay, so everybody should be able to see the LinkedIn Recruiter slide, or opening screen. So when Jeff asked me if I would help with this presentation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to attempt to give you all visibility into what what recruiters look at when they are looking for you for potential roles. So many of you that are on the phone come from many different avenues: IT, sales, marketing, HR, all kinds of different areas. But essentially, you're all in one place, and that's that you're looking for a new opportunity. And so it used to be, and I think, Jeff, you'll laugh with me on this, that years ago you would ask in a group, does everybody know what LinkedIn is, right? Back even 2008, there'd be half the room that wouldn't even have a profile built on LinkedIn. Well, so first things first, I assume that everybody here has already got a LinkedIn profile. If you don't, then this will be a great place for you to start to see a little bit more, but I'm pretty confident everybody's got a profile. And what we're going to look at is, again, I'm an executive search consultant. I'm a retained search executive. I own a retained search executive firm. So what that means is that companies hire me, they pay me to help them fill jobs. You've worked with recruiters in the past, and maybe as a good benchmark, Jeff, we can spend just 30 seconds on the difference between the different types of recruiters. There's internal recruiters, and those are the recruiters that work for the company. They're recruiters that are paid for by the larger organizations typically to help their executive team and help people fill jobs within that company. And then there's external recruiters, and there's two types of external recruiters. There's contingent recruiters and there's retained recruiters. Contingent recruiters are they're not working, they're not being paid a retainer, and they only get paid when the company fills or hires one of the candidates that they bring forward. So the difference is when they hire a retained search firm, I'm exclusive. They pay me a retainer, and then they pay me on a different scale compared to contingent recruiters in the market. So that's what I do. And I work up and down the food chain. So I fill CEO, COO, executive level jobs to when the CEO needs a new admin, I often get asked to help fill those jobs. So I'm up and down the food chain. I'm very familiar with this product that we're going to look at today. So when you are looking in your product, or you're looking at your own LinkedIn, you'll often see where people have looked at your profile. What I want you to be aware of is that if a recruiter, whether it's an internal recruiter, or a contingent recruiter, or a retained recruiter, is using this product, LinkedIn Recruiter, you as a candidate cannot see, you do not have visibility into seeing that I checked your profile. And the reason is that the technology here is LinkedIn built this product. They built it with a different set of APIs. It sits on top of LinkedIn. And when we're in Recruiter, it goes in and it utilizes the entire database that LinkedIn has got. But candidates and other people that we look at cannot see us looking at their profile. And the reason is because when I show you what I do, I can look at 100 profiles. Generally, if I'm doing a search I can look at 100 profiles in an hour, okay? And so if everybody that I looked at knew that I was looking at their profile and then reached out to me and tried to have a conversation, hey, you just looked at my profile, what are you doing? How can I help you? I would never get anything done, and therefore I would never use the product. So that's why they don't give you as candidates visibility into recruiters looking at your background. Now, occasionally I will be looking at a candidate and I'll go to their public profile. I leave the LinkedIn platform or the LinkedIn Recruiter platform, and I go to a candidate's individual profile, professional profile. Then you would have visibility into me, and you would see that I checked your profile. So that's the differentiation if anybody's got any questions. This is a very robust product. If anybody's got a question about, should I subscribe to a product like this because, Kurt, it's so dynamic and it might help me find more jobs or access to more people? Absolutely not. It costs thousands and thousands of dollars. And unless there's a reward at the end that's like mine, then there would be no reason why a candidate would ever have any need, ever to have access to the Recruiter product. But what we're going to look at today is this is my dashboard that I come to every day when I go to work and I'm conducting a search for a company. So we're going to look at a number of different things in this platform. I want to start right here with the spotlights because many of you might have questions about what spotlights is. If you go to your settings, you have the ability to change one thing here, and that's that you are you're open to work. Okay, but let's talk about this first one: engaged with a talent brand. Sorry about that. Engage with the talent brand. What this means is that these are the people that have followed or have looked at my brand, have participated in some kind of activity that I've had on LinkedIn. Past applicants are pretty simple to understand. These are applicants that have applied for previous jobs. This is the total number of people that are in the network that I'm looking at right now, 722 million or 720 million people. This one here are more likely to respond. Really important for you to understand that LinkedIn is tracking you as a candidate. And if you do not reply to messages when people like myself or other people send you notes that say, hey, Tom, I'd love to get your opinion on da-da-da-da-da. and you don't have time to reply to Tom, they track that. And if you do that often, then they put you in this box that says that Tom is more likely not to reply to messages. And that's really important to a recruiter, because when I'm out there hunting and looking to start a conversation with candidates, it's not that I would avoid a candidate like that, but I would probably have very low expectations that that candidate would ever reply or engage in a conversation with me. So my recommendation is stay out of that box. And the way to stay out of that box is just to reply to every message that everybody sends you in LinkedIn, even if it's just thanks, appreciate it, thumbs up, no thanks, not interested, can't help. It doesn't have to be a 3-minute email. It can be just a 1-word email, okay? And then this one that is open to work, many of you might have seen this in the past. It's called Open to New Opportunities. LinkedIn did extensive research, and they determined that was confusing to candidates and to applicants, and so they modified the wording to be open to work. It's my, I think I'm giving you clear direction on this, but as a candidate, you go into your settings section, and that's where you can check that box that you're open to work. And it's my understanding that you've got 2 options. One is that you can just tell recruiters that you're open to work. And the second one is you can put a banner on your picture. I call it a wreath or a banner that says that you're willing to work. And so it's a green banner. Everybody can't see that. It's not it's for recruiters. But you'll see it when I start showing you some candidates here. And then the last one is that I have a company connection. So it used to be, and you'll see here, I'm not gonna check any of these boxes, but I'm gonna use a current or past, and let's just say that I'm gonna keep this pretty generic. I'm gonna look for a VP of sales, okay? Vice President of Sales. You can see when I put that in there, all these other opportunities pop up. So I might be looking for a group vice president. I might be looking for a corporate vice president. Let's keep it at that, keep it simple. They could have had that job as they currently do, or they could have had it in their past. Because I don't want, nobody should know anybody. We're going to go to Cleveland, Ohio. How's that? Just then I don't have to worry about putting up your cousin. And when I'm a recruiter, what I generally do is I want to start off really big in my searches, okay? Meaning that I want to cast a big net of people, okay? Now, already I'm seeing that my search has gone down to 4.8 million. I don't know if that's right. I'm going to go ahead and hit the search button. We'll just see anyway. So, for what I've put in there, I've got quite a few candidates to look at. There's no way that I could ever look at that number of candidates. So I'm going to take it a step further, and I'm going to say that I am looking for, I'm going to go to an industry, and I'm going to suggest that we look at people that are in the consumer goods. Okay. So now we're down to 295 people. Okay. 295 people is a reasonable number of people that I could look at within an hour and a half. Okay. So this is where the fun begins for a recruiter. So you've got a group of candidates, and we generally, we're at the beginning as we're starting our searches. We're starting with a big funnel, and we're trying to load a lot of people in there. So, I'm in this particular case, let's just say that I'm working for a consumer package. I'm looking for, I said consumer products, but let's just say that I'm looking for somebody that is, grocery store consumer goods. Okay. So I start going through here, and I pull up, and I always pull up their full profile so I can see everything. And you can see here where this young lady has got a nice summary. She's given me a lot of key words. She's given me a clear description of the company that she works for, Sherman-Williams, certainly not a grocery brand. Carolina Pad, I don't really know what Carolina Pad is. So as a recruiter, I can click over there. It takes me to their web page. Whoop, it's not available. That was a mistake. Sorry, guys. I'll exit out of that. But I get to scroll through and see the companies, the kind of companies that she's worked for. I might be interested in if she managed people. So I might be looking for keywords there, looking for, different things. In this particular case, there's no red flag. She's got a very dynamic LinkedIn profile. You can see how she's, again, the summary section is extraordinary. The only thing that I would recommend to everybody on this call is that this summary section is a great place for you to add and build on your keywords, but I would also include your contact information. If you're actively looking for a new opportunity, make sure that you put your contact information in there, your email address and your phone number. It's a huge differentiator because what I'm going to show you next is I really like this young lady and I want to start a conversation with her. So I can save her to a project and I create projects and it becomes my kind of my CRM, mini CRM. It's not robust, but it's a starter. But here I want to start a conversation. So I have the ability to compose a message, and here I can use templates from other searches, or I can create a template for this person. I can go in and in this particular case, that wasn't a very good one. There's a number of people that are using the linked company that they've worked for my company and they haven't worked for my company. And so they're misrepresenting my brand. So I created this message to send them to say, before my lawyer calls you, get off my web or quit using my name. So that wasn't a very good example, but I can create templates and build stuff and then send them a message. I can then, after I send them a message, I can save them into a project, and I build a project where I might have 5 candidates to start off. And then as I continue this search, that number expands quickly. So now I can just scroll through. I can look at Don quickly. I can go through. He's got an okay summary, but he doesn't give me a whole lot of information. He's been in the Vitamix business, so he's probably called on retailers. Went to Bowling Green, graduated in '89, so I can tell, if I wanted to, about how old he is. Here's some of the key things that he's good at: consumer products, competitive analysis. If I were to go back and let's just close this guy down here, and I were to go over here and I wanted to put in keywords, I could build booleans. So I could say, I can create a boolean that says management. Whoops, I'm not in there. Hold on. Management. I got to put parentheses on here first. And sales. Go back up to the top. Go here first and go enter. Okay. It recalculates. We were looking at 295. Now we're down to 229 people. So these are the people that somewhere in their profile where I've got keywords, you can see management, sales, sales. It highlights for me those keywords. So it makes it super easy for me as a recruiter to identify the candidates that have most of those keywords. This guy is obviously a sales and marketing strategy executive. It says that very clearly up front, sales and marketing. He uses keywords in his title. He's given a number of different keywords: VP of International Sales and Marketing, Senior VP Global Sales. Again, not assuming that he's going to get searched for one particular term. But you can see where he has used, he's a sales guy, but I look through here, every bullet has got sales in there. So it gives me the aspiration as a recruiter to really read this guy's background. And then quickly, I just go boom, and I send that guy a message. And then I'm waiting for Michael to reply back to me and to indicate that he wants to continue the conversation. Okay. However, if Michael had given me his email address and his phone number in here, I wouldn't have had to go to this button here to send him a message. I would have been able to literally pick up the phone and say, Michael, you don't know me, but I found you on LinkedIn. I'd like to chat with you. Do you have 6 minutes? Okay. So anybody that advises you that it's not a good idea to put your contact information in there, I strongly disagree, and I highly recommend as active candidates, as many of you are, that you put that contact information in there. So that's the beginning. Now, let's go back. I told you that we also had the ability, I hadn't put any of these spotlights in there, but they've changed this thing. So typically I don't start here anymore, but I have 229. If I only got 30 minutes and I'm sitting in a Starbucks waiting for an appointment to show up, I might just go right here and look at these first 30. Here's 31 people. These are all people that have self-selected that they are open to work and interested in looking at new opportunities. Okay. So if I have limited amount of time and I don't want to go through 229, I might start there. Or the next place I would go is the people that are more likely to respond. Okay. So now I'm up to 48 people that have both. They're open to work and they're more likely to respond. That's a really good audience for me to start my communications with. I can literally sit and send 48 people a message in about 2 minutes or less. Okay. So that's how recruiters, this is the product that we're using as recruiters. Just curious, none of these people have, this is an old search that I was working on before, and it said that I had 4 new conversations, but this is where after I've sent somebody a note, they send me a note back and they say, hey, thanks for your, here's a gal, Vanessa, what's the salary range? Give her the information. I'm sorry, that's, 20 below where she wanted to work before. So she wouldn't be a candidate for that role. We got that. We figured that out real quickly. Okay. But the pass window, I'm going to go back to it again. I can go to history. I can pull up that exact search. And there I'm back to the 48 people again. And as I said, I can scroll through and look at 48 people really quickly. So this guy, for instance, Brad, he is Flambeau. I don't know what they do. Microblend. He's in the coffee business. It looks like, so he'd be a retail guy. But sometimes, even though candidates have put themselves in a particular category, it doesn't mean that they're actually, in that consumer goods. So that's why we spend time to go through and not just send blanket notes out to people. We look at everybody individually. Jeff, there's got to be some questions out there.
Yeah, we have 2 questions so far. First one, Jeff was asking on our individual side, there is no summary section, but you're talking about the about section, correct?
That's correct.
It's now called the about section.
Right.
And then Kelly asked, how do you know that they are more likely to respond? Is there a LinkedIn setting that we should use in our profile?
Nope. That's the one that if you don't reply to every message that comes in LinkedIn, then you're not going to be in that box. So you could be, if you may be in this 229, or if I were to take that off too, Kelly, you'd be likely in the 229 people. You'd be one of those 229 if you didn't reply to all the messages or to messages on a regular basis. Okay. You'd likely, because you've got the other things, you'd be in that 229. But if I was a recruiter that didn't care about and didn't have the time to go through 229, and all I did was went into the spotlights and said, all I'm going to do is look at people that are more likely to reply and that are open to work, then you wouldn't be in that box, and that would be a damage to your to the work that you're doing as far as looking for a new job. Fair enough?
All right. Let's see here. Yolanda says, I saw a picture of a guy with his child for his LinkedIn picture. How do you, as a recruiter, view that?
Yep, right here, Rob. Let's pick on Rob for a minute. That's a great observation. I'm glad somebody brought it up. You know, basics LinkedIn. Here's where I see it. I see this occasionally, but I really want a picture of just Rob. I don't want it with his son. It may have been the only picture that he had when he built his profile 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Maybe there's something very distinct about that picture that he wants you to know, and there's a story behind it. But where I see it used most infrequently in a bad way is it'll be a husband and wife picture, or partner and wife, or husband and partner, whatever. And the name is Lane. And as a recruiter, I don't know if I'm talking to is it a female Lane or is it a male Lane? So I encourage one picture, professionally taken. You don't have to spend a penny on it. Your camera, your iPhone will do that just perfectly today. Put on a sport coat, a white shirt. Gals, put on a nice blouse, a scarf, and just a clean picture of yourself and nothing else. Great question, and highly recommend. If you don't have it, you do that today.
All right. And by the way, if anybody looks at my LinkedIn picture, if you can see, you'll see in my, I just updated my LinkedIn profile on LinkedIn and on Zoom, my picture, and that was taken with an iPhone. So my daughter took that of me. So you can take a great picture and not have to
spend a penny.
Right.
Yep.
Let's see here. Let's see here. Jeff asked, what do you have to say about all-stars? So there's an all-star setting. Back in the day, the object was to get the all-star status. They sort of relegated that to a lower level. They don't talk about that very much anymore. But when you're building your profile, it will still help you do that.
Yeah, there's really, the thing that I want to encourage candidates to understand is that as a recruiter, when I start a search for a new company, every search I do is from scratch. Okay. I try to tell a story about when I first came to Ebola, and I'm not afraid to tell you what year that was. It was a long time ago. It was in 1981. We didn't have computers. We had phones on our desk. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have any of that technology. And you'd be sitting in your office working, hand calculating the Nielsen report for the last month, and the phone would ring and it would be a recruiter. And they'd say, I'm looking for a new director of sales for Campbell's Soup. Who do you know? And you would write down, you'd say, well, have you talked to Sally? She's selling Oscar Mayer, and I don't know, she's really sharp. She gets along with everybody. And if you talk to Bob, he's only been out there for less than a year, but super sharp guy, very engaged. And you give him 4 names. And the recruiter writes down those 4 names, and then they go to those 4 people and they call those 4 people and they get 2 names each, and they make a phone tree or a family tree out of it. Well, nothing has really changed. The only thing that's changed is we've got technology to do that. And so I look at every candidate as on scratch. I don't care if they're a superstar, meaning that they've got more contacts than anybody else, or they've got a higher, that they're using the paid version versus non-paid version. None of that matters to me as a recruiter, because I'm in search for the best candidate that I can find to help fill the need for this organization. And so those biases come off. Now, there are times, I'm not going to kid you. I mean, you saw through here, it doesn't take brain surgery to see that there are things on here, for instance, year of graduation. I mean, yes, I do have the ability as a recruiter to say, because it might be, I use an example on a presentation I gave this morning, that I may be looking for a COO for a company, and it's a succession plan. And, the owner of the company is looking for somebody to come in and take his place. And he wants somebody that's going to be there for 20 years, 25 years. So, honestly, is there, because I get this question all the time, do recruiters, are they biased against old people? And no, but if I'm looking for somebody that is, has 20 more years in to work, and I know the current CEO, owner of the company is 53 years old, having somebody that's 73 or 74 years old right now, even though, yeah, they may be able and willing and want to work till they're 90, probably isn't going to be a good fit. So I do have the ability to move this scale and select years or, things like that. That also comes into play when I'm searching for entry level. I'm working with a company that's in the real estate business and they want somebody that's 2 to 3 years of experience out of college. That's it. They don't want anybody that's got any more experience. So I can search for those kinds of things. So but every time I want everybody to feel very comfortable that recruiters, we want a big funnel. We want to start the search off so we got a lot of names and a lot of people, and then we slowly push them through the funnel. If I send 50 notes out, I'm only going to get 10 or 11 people that even reply to me. Just because I'm a recruiter and just because you may be looking for a new job doesn't mean that everybody replies to me. You'd be amazed. I have pretty good track record with LinkedIn. I think I'm at a 33% reply rate, but that is really high. Sometimes I'm running as low as 10 or 11%. So I have to send a lot of messages out to people to get them to reply before I find that pool of candidates.
All right. Let's see, for clarity, do you mean when applying messages when you talk about you're responding to emails, is that also include with people who want to connect with me, or is that just
no? No, it's just when somebody sends you an in-mail and says, "Hey, Judy, I'd like to learn more about the experience that you had when you were working at company XYZ. Do you have 15 minutes to get on a phone call and talk to me?" And you really don't have any time to talk to that person. But instead of just saying, "I'm sorry, I'm too busy to talk. Could we look at after the first of the year?" Or say, "I can't help," you don't answer that message. Then you get thrown in that box that says you're more likely to not reply.
Okay. What do you have to say about the banner background photo on people's profiles?
Doesn't affect it. Pictures aren't critical, but people leave pictures off for the wrong reason. They leave pictures off because they think they look too old, and they don't want somebody to see that they got gray hair. There was a guy I worked with here in Dallas for a long time. It's still a good friend of mine, and I showed up at a networking event one day with him, and he had colored his hair, and I'm like, "Dude, what did you do?" And he says, "Well, I'm just trying new things. I'm trying to find that job, and I'm not, I just want to make sure that that's not." I'm like, "Well, do whatever you want if you feel good or if your wife loves you more, but man, don't try to hide it, because as a recruiter or a company, if we're concerned about age, we're going to figure it out at some point. So just put a good, clean photo out there."
Okay. I guess they were talking more about like the banner that goes behind the photo.
That's fine. You can, yeah, I'm fine with anything else in there. If somebody wants to, that's fine.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't show up on your quickie search unless you open up somebody's profile.
That's right.
Okay. Regarding the most likely to reply time frame, for some of us who have been LinkedIn people for 15 or 10, 15 years.
Yep. How far does it go back?
If we didn't reply for the last 10 years and now only the last couple of years we've been replying, is that going to hurt us, or is it just going to show if we're replying now?
I don't, that's a really good question. I will ask my LinkedIn manager that question. I don't know the answer to that, but I think that they're forgiving. I don't think that they're tracking you over the whole life cycle of your subscription. And because that wouldn't be fair to anybody. You could have had this for 10 years, and to your point, only in the last 30 days have you started to reply, but they're going to hold you accountable for the last 10 years. So I don't think there's anything like that going on. I wouldn't worry about that.
Okay. Stuart says, how much consideration do you put on recommendations?
Well, let me tell you where I use recommendations more than I use them for anything else. And many recruiters do this as well. Not necessary. I don't really look there, but if I'm conducting a really difficult search and I cannot find the right people, Okay. I'll go to Paul quickly, try to find him on LinkedIn. And I don't even care at this point that he knows Don, because I'm not worried about Don. Don hasn't replied to me, and he's not going to reply to me. But I'm now trying to figure out if Paul might be interested in this role, or maybe he knows somebody else. So I think it's important to have him, that it demonstrates that people that you've worked with say positive and nice things about you. It used to be in the old days that if you wanted a recommendation, you would write a recommendation for somebody else. And that would be the trigger, that you just wrote a real nice recommendation for, for Paul. And so he replies by sending you a recommendation back. But, these are all outdated. 2013, my gosh, those are 8 years ago. So I don't personally look at recommendations. Some recruiters might, but again, I would use them more for, I call it scalping than anything else.
Okay. I think I remember a comment a few years ago. Somebody was talking to LinkedIn, said whenever you write a recommendation, you always want to tell people who you are, so that in case they don't, in case they're looking, well, who is this person who wrote the recommendation? They would maybe be interested in you. So,
right.
Put that into your recommendation for somebody else, as so-and-so's boss, or as whatever, running whatever, to add those comments.
Good point.
Let's see here. Kelly says, ask a question. What's your advice on using the open to work green circle around our profile photo?
I have no opinion on either one of them, Jeff. I think that they're both fine. I may have a question for the group. It was my understanding that green circle only shows up for recruiters can view that. But if you're not using the recruiter product, Jeff, and you're looking at people's profiles, can you see that green or not?
Yes, I can. So
okay.
There is the difference. And so here's my opinion. If you're looking for work, put the green banner on there, because, all right, so Kurt's spending thousands of dollars a year with LinkedIn, but I talked to another recruiting firm, and they have 30 people who work there. None of them pay for the recruiting package. So how do they find people? They only find people who are open to work, looking for that green banner. So right. The people who are not paying the big bucks, this is their crutch to find out. So no, You're not being desperate. It's not distracting.
Yep. And it's universal now. And the minute you get your next position, you can take the banner off.
Right. Let's see here. Yolanda says, you mentioned that you looked at a company you didn't have knowledge about. Is it a good idea to include a link in your profile of each of the companies you work for?
Yeah, if you can provide a link, especially if they're smaller companies. If you work for Pepsi, it's similar to in your resume. So, many people put in their resume, they just put the name of the company, and the year that they were there. And then you see resumes where it might say PepsiCo, and it might say, $1 billion beverage company. Okay. You don't have to say anything more. People know it. You probably didn't even have to put that on there. But if it's a company and a brand that we don't know, then either a link or something to tell me what they do would be very helpful.
Right. We talk about that on the Thursday resume class, that, if it's a smaller company that, it's not a name, not a Fortune 500 company, put down 1 or 2 sentences telling people what the company does, because it will help the recruiter.
Yep, absolutely, Jeff. And just so we're all on the same page, I would make it uniform. If you've got a resume and you've worked for Pepsi and then you've worked for 2 smaller companies, I would put just that 1 sentence in there for Pepsi, and then I would put the sentence or 2 in there for the other companies as well. Never assume that anybody knows what those companies are. So if you're going to give them the information on the smaller companies, make sure even for the big company that you think everybody knows who BSNF is, or everybody knows who Frito-Lay is. Don't assume.
Right. It's always a wonder. I've said I've been leading my Friday group since 2007, that every week people will come up and mention a new company. It's just like, I've never heard of that company before.
Right.
What are they? Who are they? So it's just, no matter, and Kurt, this is your professional business, and I'm sure you run across company names that you never hear of.
Right.
Let's see here. That's all the questions let's see here. On Facebook, Carolina asked, are recruiters always open to connecting to potential candidates? Or what's the correct approach to reach out to you or a
Yep.
recruiter?
Yep. So, and I don't want to say that I'm different than everybody else, but I am a little bit different in one way that I do take a lot of calls from candidates and have conversations with them. But in general, I'll be honest. I think that in general, most recruiters don't spend a lot of time with candidates that they're not trying to fill a job for. So, meaning that I'm a recruiter, but I've got this job open and you're a salesperson, but I'm looking for a marketing person. I'm not going to talk to all those I'm not going to talk to all those other people. So, I have a different approach, and maybe that's why I'm recognized on Forbes as the ninth best search firm in the United States. But I think that the bottom line is that, recruiters will find you when they need you and they want you. But if you know of a recruiter that works in a specific industry, or you found out through your networking that there's a recruiter that works for a specific company, okay, that this is a recruiter that they continue to go back to fill other jobs, and you definitely want to get on the radar of that recruiter in some way. But in most cases, I just hate to say it, but in most cases, candidates are wasting their time by trying to build a network of recruiters, because most recruiters just don't take the time to spend time with you.
So you're better off building your LinkedIn profile. Like in this case, Don's profile doesn't have a lot of information in it.
Right.
Where the other one we looked at had a ton of information, tons of keywords. You'd be more inclined to want to talk to the first person versus the second person.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, he has nothing for his jobs. I mean, you'll see
Right.
that no bullet points or anything.
Well, and I continue to remind people that your network is your net worth. And as silly as that sounds, and I've been using it for years, but you as a candidate, you've got a list of people that you've worked for, you've worked with, vendors that have called on you, people that you've called on, people that have tried to sell you stuff, people that you've sold stuff to, other vendors that you've met at trade shows, people that you've just met on airplanes. You've got a list of these people, and they're generally in your LinkedIn, and they're your first connections there. But that is where I would spend my time, Jeff, making sure that I'm using keywords and that my LinkedIn profile is as robust as it possibly can be. My contact information's in there. You check that box that you're open to new opportunities, you're willing to work, you reply to messages, you use job briefs. As you see job briefs every day and you find that a company is looking for, X, Y, and Z, and it's like, I did that, but I bet it's not in my LinkedIn profile. Well, if it's in a job description and it's a job that you're trying to get, you might go back into your LinkedIn profile and add that keyword so that you've got that for anybody that's looking for, for that going forward. So use job descriptions, but keep that key. I would, just make a note to yourself to keep your LinkedIn profile keywords up to date on a regular basis.
Right. Let's see here. I don't really see, no other questions right now. Can you go back to just show like the list of the 200 people that you had? We close out Don's thing here for just a second, because it was interesting. So if we go through the first few profiles here, there is no phone activity, but I think I remember last month when we were doing this, if somebody put their contact information in the contact field, it would show up right here. And boy, nobody here wants
I'm scrolling to see, and you're right. I don't see a lot of contact information.
Yeah, no, everybody's being hard to get hold of. So people are open to work, but they're not putting in their contact information.
Right.
So,
and sometimes sometimes when you get to their profile, you'll look at their summary section. This guy says see less, so I can't see it there, and I'll scroll quick and there's no contact information. I really want to talk to him. So the only option I've got is to go send him an in-mail.
So, put your phone number, put your email address. If you don't want to put your phone number, you can always get a Google Voice number and
Right.
use that, just so that there's some way for the recruiter to get hold of it. Make it easy for the recruiter.
Well, it's a huge differentiator, and in that particular case, Jeff, it's not only a differentiator from other. It's a big differentiator from other candidates, because as a recruiter, it's just a quick way to the finish line. If I've got 100 candidates, it comes back to, if I've got 100 candidates that I've sent in-mails to, I know that only about 20 of those, maybe 18, are going to reply to me. And then there's another 4 that I've got email addresses and phone numbers. Man, that's jackpot. I feel like it's a good day if I've got phone numbers I can call people directly. I love it.
In your search criteria, Jeff asked, in your search criteria, can you search for just people who have contact information? I mean, is that something you can?
That's not something that you can search for, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Other questions? Anybody else have any questions? You're welcome to unmute your mic if you'd like, or enter it into the chat box.
And I'm sorry for the noise in the background, Jeff. I'm in the construction zone. My office and home is being torn apart. So
okay. Hopefully be done before Christmas.
Yeah, well, I wish.
Let's see here. How do you, you've said once you have your initial list of candidates, how do you sort of construct your funnel? I mean, what is it that you're?
Yep. So I am constantly trying to add to my funnel. So, if I went through and put, let me do this for grins, because I don't think let me just go to a project that I had and see if I can find one here that is, let's see. I don't even know what this is. A year ago. It's a director of marketing. So I don't even know what this was, whether I was filling it or somebody else, but you can see where in this particular case, I've got a funnel, and I don't know what I was looking for. So it could have been a one-time. I know. I was working for a company in California, and they were talking about potentially hiring a marketing executive. So I would go out and I might start to fill a pipeline to just have, people that I can have conversations with. So that's what that's what you're seeing here. But, I am constantly, if this became a search, then these candidates would move. I'd change their status, and they'd become, either I contacted or I declined them, or they became a future prospect. But I would be filling up this funnel all the time. I would be looking for new people to add to this funnel. So again, I might have done this, found 14 people in an hour one afternoon, and I just let the project sit there. But if I was actually conducting this search, I would be in here every day, adding more people, revising my search, putting in different, keywords, trying to shake it up a little bit to see if I could find new candidates. So you because it's so simple to use, you can adjust anytime you want.
Okay. Gail asked, will recruiters leave a message if you don't answer your phone? Sometimes you're on a Zoom call or another phone call.
Absolutely, they better.
And then you need to call them back.
Right. But here, look at this picture that I just put up of Stefan. I mean, I'm not picking on the guy. And he's a marketing guy. So, he's got the liberty to maybe do things a little bit differently in the digital world. But, that's a pretty random picture to put up on LinkedIn.
Right. All right. So Jeff, so he asked about the filtering question. So he says, I'm actually more interested in how do you filter out the candidates you don't want?
I do that when I start having conversations with people. I can't use you can only use LinkedIn for so much. It's the tip of the iceberg. And so I fill that funnel up. I start to have conversations. In the first week that I conduct a search, I might literally talk to 60 people. And it's in the process that I connect with them and I have a conversation that I start to eliminate people from the process.
Were there any red flags when you're talking to somebody, you go, they're done? or, you know?
Well, there's a lot of red flags on, just on, just people's etiquette and so forth. But, I think the biggest red flag is, people don't call you back. They're interested in, you sometimes you get candidates right off the, kind of cold, and they're not expecting the call, and they'll come up with just really crazy questions. Like, they don't even know who I am and what I'm looking for. Well, what does the job pay? And I want to say, whoa, it's a little early to jump to that conclusion, but if you really want to know, yeah, I can give you an idea. But those are the candidates. If you see a phone, if you're in a job search and you're driving and you've got the 3 kids in the back and you're driving carpool, and God bless you, you should be doing that. And the opportunity to spend time with your kids, amazing. Or you're just away doing something and you can't take a phone call. We've got such amazing technology today. Hit the button that says, I'll call you back. And then go find a quiet place quickly and call the person back. But don't try to take a phone call as you're driving down the highway, fighting with your teenagers to figure out where you're going to have dinner tonight, and try to think that you can be sharp and spot on for a first impression for a potential interview. And I know you're not desperate, but I know you're waiting for those phone calls, but just take it when you've got if you can pull off to the side of the road and get out of the car. I'm being very, very silly, I know, but I think people get what I'm talking about.
Okay, Tim asked, do you know whether if recruiters actually use the hashtag ONO tag for open to new opportunities when they're searching for people's profiles?
Well, in transition, more than open to new opportunities. In transition, looking, we use those kind of adjectives to try to find those people that might not have clicked on the box, but may have used another kind of word to describe where they're at in their career.
Okay. So here's a question nobody's asked. How much information should I put in my LinkedIn profile? I've been working for 40 years, back from 1980s when I had my first job after graduate school. How much of that should be in my profile?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jeff. So, my recommendation is, again, you can't hide, where you've been, but if you're, let's just say that you've got 25 years of experience, and that's not uncommon in today's environment. So you've got 25 years of experience. You might take me to 20 years, and then you might put in a bullet that says early career, and you just list the name of the companies that you work for.
Okay, very good. All right, top 3 things you want to tell people, sort of summarize top 3 points.
Yeah, so one of them is outside of what we've been talking about today, but everybody here, these 3 things are so important through the holidays. And as we move into, a new year and potentially maybe past this COVID environment. So the 3 things are: 1, everybody on this phone, I want to make sure that you keep the blinders off. Okay. Do not assume anything. I want you to create conversations with as many people as you can. There's so many times in the last number of years where, I sent a candidate in for a job that maybe wasn't the perfect job for the candidate. It might've been a little bit lower than what they were looking for, or it might've been just a little bit different than what they were hoping for, and, different things. And they come out and the CEO calls me and says, hey, Jack's a great a great candidate, and we're going to put him in this new VP of market development that you didn't even know we were looking for that person. Okay. Just keep looking for that vice president of sales that I want, but I'm going to put this guy, because he's so great, into even a better role than what you had planned that he was here interviewing for. So the only time that we have to turn down job offers is when we get written job offers. Okay. So if you start turning down jobs before you have job offers, you could be missing out on some great opportunities. So that's the first thing. Keep the blinders off. Secondly, put a full court press on during the holidays. Yeah, we're in a COVID time, and unemployment's higher than it's been in a long time, but do not assume that companies aren't preparing to start hiring after the first of the year. So continue a full court press. This is not the time to stop. Executives are at their desk. Executives have their phone numbers, their phones forwarded to their cell phones. Executives are working on planning, but they're not traveling and they're not going anywhere. So they have time to have conversations. And the last thing I want you to do is just keep a positive mental attitude. It's all about attitude and being able to talk to people about how you can bring that attitude to their workforce and how you can communicate with people, how you can continue to drive process and progress in a business is what people are going to be asking for as we come out of the COVID, is how did you survive the COVID? So if you didn't do anything, that's okay. Read a few books over the holidays. Maybe start to learn a new language. Do something for yourself that differentiates yourself, even if you might have been unemployed.
Thank you. One last question. Will Kurt allow us to connect with him on LinkedIn?
100% every day. No problem.
Send that personal note that you watched Kurt, that you watched him today. That would be really, really great. So, Kurt, thank you very much. Kurt will be back with us the last week of January if you want to come back and join us again. Let's see here. Next week, Locke Alderson will be with us, how to use LinkedIn for job hunting, strategies to get results. So he'll be with us next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. All right, I need everybody to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jeff Morris, promise to always send a personal note whenever I send a LinkedIn request to connect with anyone. This includes when I use my cell phone or my computer. Very, very important. So if you're going to connect with me, if you want to connect with Kurt, always send that personal note. Just don't, I've got like 70 people who give me that default connection request, and I don't connect with those people. All right, upcoming programming we have going on tomorrow at 1 o'clock, our interviewing Wednesdays. It'll be a distinctive interviewing with Walt Glass. During the month of December, we're having special guest speakers, and coming in January, they will start their 13-session workshop over again. And then on Thursday, we have our Effective Resume Thursday class. And, you know, the Effective Resume class sort of relates a little bit to LinkedIn, because what you're putting on your resume should be some of the details, a lot of details that you're putting on LinkedIn. And we play the so what game, like you put a bullet point underneath on what something you've done for a job. And the question becomes, well, so what? Are you showing any results? So you have those keywords. So we talk about that on Thursday. And then this Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, we have an interesting presentation. We have a professional Excel trainer who's going to talk about tracking network leads with Excel. So if you're not really sure how to keep track of everybody you're talking to, or you really sort of need help perfecting what your spreadsheet should look like, please join us this Friday. And we'll actually be asking some of the viewers to share their screen and let us see what you have on your spreadsheet, so we can maybe pick up some tricks and some tips. This session has been recorded, and it will be on the Career FW Facebook page. It'll be up on the Career USA YouTube channel in a couple hours later this afternoon. Please follow us on Facebook. If you do, every time we go live, you'll get a little alert on your phone. And subscribe to the YouTube channel. Every time we post a new video, you'll get an email saying that, we've just posted this new video and what the title is. So, we thank you if you would do both of those. If you go to the YouTube channel, it is the Career USA YouTube channel. It should come up with playlists, should be the first thing that you see. And instead of clicking on the screen where the LinkedIn is or one of the topics, click underneath it where it says View Full Playlist. And that way you'll be able to see and pick and choose by title what you want to be viewing. Much easier to use that way. Please note, Career FW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. Kurt's volunteering to speak to us today. All the other LinkedIn speakers all volunteer. I'm a volunteer. I've never gotten paid to do this for the last 12 years of Career FW. This is what I do to give back to the community, my little charity. We survive on donations. Please consider, when you get your next job, please make a donation and help us so we can continue to do what we do. And if your company happens to offer matching donations, please look us up. Allow your donation to double in value. And if you don't see us listed, please let me know and I will get our name listed. So Kurt, once again, thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank you.
And everybody else, thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you later in the week.
Cheers.